OcalaFurniture.com.
This is Ocala Talks with Tom Schmidt, bringing stories that are important to our community in and around Ocala. Plus, of course, a splash of sports as well. Now, here's your host, Tom.
Good Monday morning. Welcome to Ocala Talks. I'm your host, Tom Schmitz, coming to you from the studios of WOCA Radio, located just off the runway at the Ocala International Airport in the Brick City Beautiful, Ocala, Florida. Man, and when you say Brick City Beautiful, this weekend was fabulous on display of how beautiful it was in Ocala. Coming up on today's show, we got Galen Unall from Life South. He joins us, he does every day, thanks to the good folks at Palm Garden Health and Rehabilitation Center, Penn Flooring, and Just Shipped. Also, Major Greg Martin, who's in charge of major crimes with the Ocala Police Department. He will be in studio today at 9 o'clock. That'll sure to be a pretty good conversation as well. But let's go to the aforementioned Galen Unall. He's waiting, patiently online with us. Galen, good morning to you first off.
Hey, how are you, Tom? Good to hear from you.
I'm good. I'm good. Now, in the lieu of a Russian oligarch who's lost his $120 million yacht when it was seized in France, although he's trying to get to Turkey as fast as he could go, he told his captain, get me to Turkey so they can't take my ship. It begs the question, is your yacht and everything safe?
Well, it's questionable right now. The problem with my yacht is it's stuck inland. Right, it's never touched the water. I don't even know if it sails.
Well, there you
go. It's my imagination, so I just got to get it there.
Yeah, but
I'm willing my yacht into existence. It just hasn't happened yet.
Well, keep after it. Keep after it. Dogged determination. Dogged determination.
That's correct. That's all I got.
The news. The news is making the news is making such a big deal about these oligarchs and their stuff being seized. And now over the weekend, I watched the English Premier League, and they made a big deal of the Chelsea owner going to sell his team for the Ukrainian people. We're still buying 74 million barrels of oil a day from Russia. The United States is. Well, is it really? Do I really care that you seized a super yacht?
Well, and to me, there's two things I wanted to discuss today. One, we're now going to Venezuela to get oil, right?
Yeah, because that's not a corrupt country. There's no corruption there.
Have you what? How quickly do we forget what these dictators and these tyrants do to their people?
They got oil, Galen. They got oil.
We'll go get oil from anyone other than in our backyard.
Yeah. How about get it from just off? How about get it from Oklahoma, Texas? How about get it from the coast of Louisiana? How about get it from where God forbid, a caribou bumps his head on a pipeline?
Oh, man, I don't. And Tom, so it's really frustrating. And that's the one thing I did not expect out of all of this is that the United States say, you know what, Venezuela, and if you are a socialist, right? Maybe you think, okay, good. You're finally going to give some money back to the socialists so that they can feed their people. But we know history tells us that's not where the money goes. I cannot believe that we're thinking about buying oil in Venezuela. And by the way, our spokesperson for all of this war in the Ukraine is Kamala Harris. That's also a little frightening.
By the way, buying oil from the Venezuelans as opposed to buying it from the Russians, everybody thinks that if we buy oil we need to stop buying oil from. And I've said on this radio program, I would be willing, and I don't like the gas prices, but if we stop buying oil from the Russians and it meant I had to pay $6 a gallon, I'm okay with that. I would make that sacrifice.
You know what?
I'm okay with that.
I think there are people are. My son filled up his tank, and he goes, Dad, gas is $4. I'm like, well, don't fill it up then, son. Do the best you can. And it's, I get it. If we are really as a country backing the Ukraine, right, as everybody on social media, everybody in the news, my God, the news wants us to back the Ukraine.
Then you got to tighten your belt. You got to tighten your belt.
Then this is the cost. This is the cost. It's 50 cents more per gallon than it was a month ago.
Right. The national average closed on this week at $4.10 a gallon, $4.09 a gallon. That's up 18 cents from where it was last week.
I'm looking at a Wawa right now, and it's $3.99.
Right. California has the highest average at $5.28 a gallon, and the lowest averages are Missouri and Oklahoma at $3.60 a gallon.
And I get it. This is going to do nothing more than pour kerosene onto our inflation, right? And that's what Biden's really. Okay, let's be clear. If anybody thinks this is anything other than I want to stay in power from our government, you are crazy. This has everything to do with, look, people will what they can see every single day. They really want inflation. All they have to do is look at the gas pumps. The problem is Biden and the Biden administration doesn't have the leadership to come out and say, look, if he said this, I would at least respect it. If he came out and said, look, we are not going to buy oil from the Russians. We are not going to buy oil from the Venezuelans. But at the same time, I'm not going to drill in the United States because I think it's environmentally unsafe. At least we could respect it, right? We could disagree with it. You know what I mean? But at least you would have, some kind of authority or some type of, pride, whatever. I'm missing the truth, or I'm missing the word, but something to stand on. Instead, we go to Venezuela, Tom.
One of the work. I mean, if there was a country that was the equivalent,
call up Kim Jong-un.
Yeah, exactly. You want to step down from Russia, go to Venezuela.
But they're talking with Iran, right? We know that they're considering also buying oil from Iran. So what do we do? What do we do?
How about we buy oil from American oil people? How about that?
Man, this is just.
How about we start bringing oil back out of the ground? How about we start bringing oil back out of the ground in North Dakota?
Yeah, and again, if one person tells me, well, we've got to look at alternative energy sources, okay, I do not disagree with that. But I do not want a windmill in my backyard.
But you're not building you're not building a nuclear power plant in the next 3 months.
No, we're shutting them down.
Their oil wells are just sitting there, not doing anything. That are ready to go. All you got to do is turn them back on.
You talked about the weather this weekend and how glorious it was. But there wasn't enough wind to power a windmill. Unless I guess you're down at Bay Hill.
Unless you were at Bay Hill.
Yeah, what are we going to do? We're going to put massive windmills all along the coast of Florida, which I heard somebody suggest. I'm like, well, you've never been within 10 miles of one because you can hear it. I have a real problem with that. Then after the break, I want to talk about should we ban Russian athletes from competing or not? And I'd love your opinion.
Well,
should we be making these owners sell their teams and stuff like that? I'd love to hear your opinion.
We'll talk about that next. You're listening to Ocala Talks on 1370 AM, 96.3 FM. This is WOCA, The Source.
Are you or your loved one being released from a hospital and wondering how you'll manage? Inform your physician that you want to go to Palm Garden of Ocala at 2700 Southwest 34th Street for your rehabilitation. Palm Garden provides pain management, post-discharge follow-up, diabetic care, psychosocial support, and so much more. Plus, they even offer outpatient rehab. This award-winning care facility has a team of licensed professionals dedicated to enhancing your independence. Call 352-854-6262 today.
Are you wasting time boxing up packages and going to the post office or the UPS store? Are you tired of not knowing what you'll pay when you get there? Just Ship offers pickup service and flat rate packaging and postage rates, which takes the guesswork out of shipping while saving you time and money. So quit wasting valuable time and money. Call or text Just Ship at 352-234-3840. That's 352-234-3840. Just Shipped.
New arrivals and new savings are waiting for you at Blockers Furniture. With over 80,000 square feet of the best selection and best prices you can find on furniture, mattresses, home accents, accessories, and more. And with new trucks arriving weekly, Blockers has the best available in-stock selection. Unlike many other furniture companies that will have you waiting for months to get what you want or need, come see everything that Blockers has to offer. Blockers Furniture, 2402 Southwest College Road, next to Hobby Lobby.
Hi, this is JP from Penn Flooring here in Ocala. I would like to invite you to come in and visit our spacious showroom where we have solutions for every style and budget. From wall-to-wall carpet to hardwood floors and tiles, we have an unsurpassed selection of flooring. At Penn Flooring, we've provided quality customer service with a family touch for over 25 years. Visit our website at pennflooring.com or come by our showroom, 1201 Southwest 17th Street, just over the bridge. Penn Flooring, quality customer service with a family touch.
Now you've done it. Have you lost your mind? He's back. And you're listening again. A legend in his own mind. Don't believe me? Just ask him. Here's Tom Schmitz live on WOCA. The Source.
Welcome back to Ocala Talks. On a Monday, getting the week started off right. Galen's already fired up and aggravated about Venezuela coming into the picture for oil consumption for the U.S. Starting the day off right, Galen, getting you fired up.
Well, there's so much in the news to do it. It's frustrating.
You know, we were
speaking
of the news.
We're energy independent, and I know everybody hears it every single day. But it's important to remember you're energy independent.
You know, we were watching the news over the weekend, and we were watching. We would try to put it on News Nation, but News Nation doesn't do news 24 hours. They have last man standing stuff, so we put it on News Max, and we're sitting there watching it, and my wife and I have this conversation, and she goes, you know, even News Max is slanted. I go, yeah. She goes, but it's not as bad as CNN. I go, that's only because they're saying what you want to hear. I said, people that watch CNN, that want to listen to, that like CNN, it's because CNN tells them what they want to hear. And so it's even difficult, especially with this coverage of the Ukraine, how it's become so politicized. It's hard to watch the coverage. Like now they've drawn the Paralympics into it, that somehow people with bad disabilities that the Russians probably shunned anyway, but they want to put them on a world stage. Now the Paralympics aren't allowing the Russian athletes. And so you talk about athletics not being allowed and owner selling. Now the Paralympics, people with profound disabilities. Yeah, you're from Russia. Sorry about your luck. You're not competing.
So what do you think? Do you think that it's okay for Russians to be banned from their sport?
You know, I don't think they had anything to do with this. As an individual, probably not. As a whole, because of what country they're representing, I could see the argument for banning them. I like you know, is Ovechnik or the hockey player for the Capitals or whatever, is he Russian or is he Belarus or, you know, I don't. And it's hard to know what country, you know, are they from Belarus? Are they from Russia? Are they from Moldova? Are they from the Ukraine? Are they from Latvia, Estonia? All of those were Soviet bloc countries. So, you know, I know it sounds terrible, but it's easy to confuse them all, you know, as to who's who.
You know what? I hate this. I absolutely hate it. So you're blaming and this is my opinion. You're blaming someone for where they were born and for who their leader is. Which, by the way, they didn't have a vote in.
No.
So how is this not racist? Because they're white, right? Russians are white. This isn't considered racist. But let's just put
it's definitely discriminatory. It's definitely discriminatory.
But how is it not racist? The
well,
definition.
They're not a race of people.
Of racist.
They're a country. They're not a race
of
people.
No, yes, they are. Russians are a race of people.
So then are Americans a race of people?
Absolutely. You go to another country and they consider all Americans the same. It's a race. I think
I
for
think it's
American
I think it's a
race.
nationality. It's not a race.
Okay, I mean, I guess, okay, if you want to call it a nationality, I'll take that. It's still under the code of being a race.
It's still discriminatory
all-
if you discriminate against a nationality, people of a certain nation that had no control over what their government or their leaders are doing, especially leaders they didn't have a vote in. Yes, it is discriminatory at its basic fact.
Oh, okay. That's why I think it's wrong. I'll take it a step further. I think it's racist. You could call it discriminatory. Fine. Right? I have a real problem with this. How in the world is it these people's fault? The Chelsea owner, who has come out publicly and said, I hate the fact that we invaded Ukraine.
Yes.
Right? So, I gave this scenario because my wife and I were discussing it. She goes, yeah, I think they should. And I said, okay. So where do you draw the line for when you ban an athlete from participating in a sport? What if somebody, and by the way, this is already happening, what if somebody voted for Trump? Should they get banned? What if a basketball player comes out and is a Uyghur, and the Chinese government says, oh, no. As long as you let that Uyghur play, we're not gonna have his games broadcast in our market, and therefore the NBA bans all Uyghurs. Where do we draw the line there?
I think you hit the nail right on the head. Is where do you draw the line at denying individuals their rights to be individuals just because of what country they come from?
Well, and so apparently in some skiing event this weekend, the athlete from Russia put a Z on their chest or somewhere. I couldn't get everybody, I guess it was so offensive they refused to release a video. And apparently the Z means you're in support of invading Ukraine.
Oh.
Okay. Why is that wrong, Tom?
You can be a Russian and be in favor of invading Ukraine.
Well, if you believe in free speech, you believe in free speech.
Yes.
I'm an absolutist in speech. I am. I've talked about it many times. And so, what's the difference between wearing the Z, which apparently I had no idea, and it may not be. It may be some 4-chain thing, but this person did it. So it's like us canceling people for the OK thing. To me, if you want to go up and you want to accept your medal and you want to wear a swastika on your chest, fine, do it. Now, will there be repercussions for it? I sure hope so.
Right.
But you have the right to do it.
Well, that's like I've always said that the political correct police that say you can't say words and you can't say phrases and you can't refer to this, you can't refer to that, I disagree with that at its core. I think if you want to, you should be able to go stand on the steps of a historically black university, college or university. Stand on the steps of the administration building. And if you want to yell the N-word, you can yell it as much as you want. Now, the repercussions from doing that may end you up in an emergency room or worse. But you made a decision to do something stupid, and then you paid the penalty for doing something stupid. I don't think it's the government's job. I know. I don't think it's the government's job. I don't think it's the government's job. I don't think it's the sporting world's job. I don't think it's anybody's job to tell an individual what they can or cannot say. I think the repercussions of what you say and how that fallout from what you say dictates whether you should say things or not. I don't think governments or sporting events or sporting leagues or governing bodies should ever make those decisions. Because if they did make it, I know. I mean,
I hate it.
It's terrible.
And I think if you're for it, I think you really need to look inside and go, why? Why?
Like what did those disabled athletes who have worked all their lives to try to get some normalcy in their lives and compete for medals, and what did they do to help the Russian cause in the Ukraine? What did they do to push along the invasion of Ukraine. Help me out. How is punishing them punishing Russia?
Yeah, and again, I don't get it. I don't like it. I think it's a slippery slope. But that again goes by. This is all started. All of this was started by social media. This was started on Twitter, and that's where it took hold. And these sports franchises and these people, kind of like you, they're like Twitter and Facebook and these social apps are so important for us from a marketing aspect that we have to react to it.
I mean,
that's the problem.
Is it a Russian that owns the Brooklyn Nets?
I don't know if he's Russian or what he is, but yeah, he may be. I don't know. I don't care, Tom. I don't really care. I don't think it's very important. It has nothing to do with the day-to-day operations. I know the guy who owns Chelsea, because that's been made such a big deal of, is Russian. And he's like, I'm going to sell my team.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to donate the
Mikhail
profit.
Mikhail Prokhorov he's a Russian oligarch, billionaire politician,
Right, well, there you go.
and former owner of the Brooklyn Nets. He doesn't own the Nets anymore.
Yeah. Well, right. Are we going to make why? Why? I hate it. I absolutely hate it. So I can't. This bothers me to my core.
It just, there's nothing that the athlete did. Like, in the doping scandal at the Olympics, where they now they have to play under the ROC, the Rock, instead of Russia. Ones that weren't there. Those athletes doped. I can see suspending the Russian athletes there. They were directly involved in cheating in sports. There's no athlete.
Russian. It's a little different because they had their day in court, and they found that the Russian Federation as a whole
cheated.
Was promoting.
Right. Exactly.
So it wasn't a singular athlete.
But the athletes were all in on it. Not one athlete. Putin didn't pick up the phone and contact one athlete in Russia or in the United States that's Russian, that's playing in our pro leagues or playing in the Italian pro leagues or playing anywhere. Not one time did Putin pick up the phone and goes, "Hey, thinking about invading Russia. What do you think is an athlete that's from Russia? I mean, think it's a good idea or not?" Not once did that phone call happen.
And again, it just isolates Russia further. And that's exactly what Putin wants, right? Because Putin can then tell his people, yes, the West is against us. Look how they're treating the best of us.
If
they're treating the best of us like this, what would they do to you?
Yeah, he can do that.
Walking right into their propaganda.
He can do that. That's propaganda gold is what they're supplying you.
Yeah, I hate it. I really do. And you know what? Again, this is one of those times where we had real leadership in this country. Somebody would stand up and say, "This is wrong. It's wrong." Let them play. It's not their fault. It's not like they're leaving their sport to go invade the Ukraine.
Right. And now
I hate it.
Now the English Premier League has cut its feed to Russia. It's getting crazy.
Yeah, like the flights. Now the flights I can kind of understand. I'm like, okay, if I could kind of get that. I mean, McDonald's shutting down the
I guess
restaurants in Russia. Okay, all right. Well, it probably had more to do with a ruble just dropping.
Right, exactly.
And being worth nothing. That was probably more of a
by shutting the flights down, we got to go to break. But by shutting the flights down, there are Americans that are stranded in Russia that can't get home because you can't fly out of Russia.
Absolutely right.
So we'll take a break.
And then look what they
go ahead.
They did with the WNBA star.
Yeah, she's still in custody. She's still in custody. She's not getting out. She's now. That's what happens if you do this. We'll be right back after this timeout. You're listening to Ocala Talks, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, WOCA, The Source.
Broadcasting from the Ocala International Airport, this is WOCA AM, W242CA FM, Ocala, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
As Ukraine